Joining us now, Sarah Longwell, Executive Director of Defending Democracy Together and co-founder of Republicans for the Rule of Law. She is also the author of a new NBC think piece titled Republicans Who Back Impeachment Can Save the Country and the GOP. Sarah, you take the historical view of impeachment and you write this: if 2019 is like 1972, Republicans are smart to be putting space between themselves and Trump. If Romney's place in the Senate is to be the elder statesman who can help that process along, the party and the country will thank him for it, eventually. I'm looking for that space that people like Mitt Romney are creating between themselves and the president, because publicly, I don't see it. Do you?
A little bit, but I think well, look, I wasn't alive in the 1970s.
Show off.
But look, my history books tell me that it was not a good decade for Republicans. We took big losses in the Senate, big losses in the House. Ultimately, we lost the presidency. But the one reason that the party was able to fight its way back in the 1980s and have decades of conservative dominance was that Republicans with Nixon, they didn't go down with the ship. Right? Republicans went to him, Barry Goldwater went to him, and they said, enough is enough. You have to resign. And I think Republicans today should heed that historical lesson, because if they don't put distance, and look, they don't all have to call for impeachment right now. They just have to call for an impeachment inquiry. They just have to be responsible in this moment and say, in a bipartisan way, we're going to get to the bottom of what's happened here. That's it. They just have to be responsible.
Sarah, the interesting part, though, is back then, in 1972, Nixon was very, very popular. By the time these hearings had concluded, he was very, very unpopular. He was an albatross for Republicans. So on some level, Republicans were being heroes and doing the right things. On another, they were seeing where the wind was blowing. Yes. If you put your finger up to see where the wind is blowing right now, for some Republicans in Congress, Donald Trump is not an albatross. You have to tie yourself to him in order to survive.
Yeah, and that's why you can't look at the Republicans who are going to live by polling, even though there's polling right now that shows almost 30% of Republicans are very much in support of the impeachment inquiry. But the people you really need to look at are the ones that know how to show some semblance of moral leadership. You need to look at Mitt Romney, look at Ben Sasse, and here's what Romney can do, actually. I mean, he can go to these other adults in the Senate. He can go to Susan Collins. He can go to Ben Sasse. He can go to Lamar Alexander, and he can say, listen, the future of the party is in our hands. We have a responsibility to say that this is wrong, that it is not okay to ask a foreign country to dig up dirt on political adversaries. Enough is enough. And all they need to do is speak out. You know, my group, Republicans for the Rule of Law, has $1 million ad buy out right now where we are asking Republicans just to say something. Don't say, I haven't read the whistleblower complaint. I mean, it's only 9 pages. Go and read it. It's time to stand up and say something, Republicans.
This is interesting. So when you see this ad buy, when Republicans see this ad buy, are they going to be able to say, these are Republicans saying, let's do the right thing? Or are they going to say, Sarah Longwell's group is fringe and they're not really Republicans? People continue to accuse Republicans who are critical of Donald Trump as being Republicans in name only or not really Republicans, because the argument is that Donald Trump owns the Republican Party right now.
Yeah, sure, we're all rhinos. At least we are, look, until the polling changes to some degree and the momentum changes. I think part of what our ad campaign is really meant to do is to appeal to those Republicans who we know have a sense of duty that is bigger than just the party. The people who we know could put country over party. People like Adam Kinzinger, who came out with a tweet today and said it's disgusting what the president said when he was retweeting somebody inciting a civil war if there's an impeachment. We're targeting those responsible Republicans that we think could stand up and say something. And if they want to dismiss us as fringe, that's fine. But I'll say that in the long term, I'm willing to bet all day long that we're right on this.
Sarah, good to talk to you. Thank you for joining us. Sarah Longwell is the Executive Director of Defending Democracy Together and the co-founder of Republicans for the Rule of Law.
All right, moving on. The first